All right, in this video, we're going to show you how the chess pieces themselves move. So we'll start with the pawns, since those are kind of the basic piece. The pawns are kind of interesting. They have a couple rules with them. In the beginning, they can move forward 1 or 2 spaces. So why don't you do your first move, Wes, with your pawn of your choice. Doesn't matter too much. So he's going to go ahead and move up 2 spaces. He could have moved up 1 if he wanted, but on their first move, your pawns can move up 2 spaces. That's the only time they can do that. So, Wes, if you were going to move that pawn again, you could only go up, right? You could only go up 1. Okay, so let's look at the horses next. The horses are maybe the most complicated to learn, but they're a pretty powerful piece. They can move in kind of an L shape. So, Wes, why don't you grab one of those horses and move it into the next position you think is good? He's going to go up 2 and over 1. He could have gone in that black spot behind the pawn. Why don't you put him in that other one, Wes? Behind the pawn you move first. Could have gone there. See, he moves with like an L. And it can be 1 and then 2 over. It doesn't have to be 2 up and 1 over. So anything that kind of looks like an L. Next is the bishop. Why don't you go ahead and move that middle pawn up, Wes? The one in front of the queen. In front of the queen. We'll move him up 2. Yeah, just move him up 2 like we're moving him. Now the bishops, they can move diagonally, and there's no limit to the amount of spaces a bishop can move as long as he's got clear space in front of him. So go ahead and move that bishop as far as you want. Just got to stay on a black square. Yeah, see how far he can move? Anything in a diagonal line, he can go. And then, lastly, are your rooks. The rooks are similar to the bishops in that they can move as many spaces as you want them to, as long as they have a clear space. But instead of moving vertically, they move horizontally, either up and down or to the side. So why don't you move your rook that has some clear space there? Yeah, move him. He can move all the way over. If he had clear space, he could move up. Yeah, absolutely. But that's how he moves. Yeah, good demonstration there, Wes. Okay, queen. Queen is the most powerful character in a lot of ways. She's kind of a combination of the rook and the bishop. So again, no limit on the amount of space that she can move. She can go diagonally or horizontally or vertically. So Wes, why don't you move that queen all the way up? She could go all the way up. If she had some space, she could go diagonally in any direction. So why don't you move her again? Let's pretend she has another move. Yeah, come towards me, Wes. Oh, yeah, that'll work too. Yep, she can go that way, but not in the same move, of course. But she's really powerful. You don't want to lose that queen. And then your king, pretty simple. Let's move the queen up behind that pawn, Wes. Yeah, let's pretend we moved her. The king can move 1 space at a time in any direction, but only 1. So he could go, that's about the only place he could go right now. Yep, triangle, yeah, there you go. So those are your basic moves. Now, everyone can attack in the way that they do, except for the pawn. Why don't you move that black pawn up to meet the white pawn in the middle, Wes? Move him up 2 spaces. There you go. Right. Now, that would be a very bad move for the black pawn, because now the white pawn can't attack him. The white pawns, or the pawns in general, can only attack diagonally. See there? But everybody else can attack in whatever way they normally move. So your pawns a lot of times will end up just kind of facing each other and being stuck. So why don't you move that other black pawn up to meet that white pawn, Wes, in the middle?
Like in front of
Yeah, in front of the queen. The one in front of the queen. Move him up all the way. So now those two are kind of stuck. They can't move forward. They can only move diagonally to attack. So if that other pawn wasn't there, they would be definitely stuck. But everyone else can basically take a piece in whatever way they normally move. The pawns are the only ones with any sort of restriction on how they attack. So right now, for example, that black pawn next to the white bishop, Wes, that black pawn could beat the bishop. The bishop could beat the black pawn by moving diagonally into it.
That would be a bad move.
But that would probably be a bad move right now. So you've got the basic movements down. There are so many more things we could talk about with chess. It gets pretty complicated, but now you know the basic movements. Any words of advice, Wes, for new players?
Well, I don't know. Can I tell you my favorite one?
Yeah, do your favorite one.
I like the queen.
Yeah, the queen's pretty powerful. Don't lose the queen. You can't lose the queen, right? You can't lose.
That's if you lose the queen, you basically lost the game.
Yeah, but how you really lose the game is if the king dies, right? Boom. So practice. Keep playing. Play against yourself. You know, this is definitely a game you can play against yourself just to kind of learn all the pieces. And watch more chess videos. You'll get really good at it. Thanks, Wes. Good job.